The janitor's uniform slammed onto the mahogany table. Darius? Classic slave name. Reginald Whitman's voice dripped with contempt. Very fitting for someone who should be serving us. 8 board members snickered. Phones recorded everything. Maybe this fits better than Daddy's expensive suit, boy. Whitman pushed brass keys across the wood. 3rd toilet stall, your real office. Do you understand what fired means? Whitman spoke slowly, like addressing a child. The room erupted in cruel laughter. Flash after flash captured Thompson Industries' CEO, their first black CEO staring at cleaning supplies. Darius Thompson didn't flinch. His hands remained folded. His voice stayed level. Community college assumptions. Interesting, Reginald. Whitman's grin widened. We're voting you out. Security's coming to escort the fraud. Have you ever watched someone's world crumble in 30 seconds only to discover they held all the cards? 10 minutes. Whitman checked his Rolex. Pack your ghetto belongings and get out. Board member Harrison Wells leaned back, arms crossed. Daddy issues much? No father figure to teach you real business? The room exploded in laughter. Richard Cromwell, the silver-haired CFO, shook his head mockingly. Once project housing, always project housing. Harvard diversity admission showing its true colors, added Patricia Northfield, the only woman on the old board. Her manicured nails tapped the table rhythmically. Darius remained perfectly still. His briefcase sat locked beside his chair, never left his side. A platinum Amex black card peeked from his wallet. First-class boarding passes scattered across his leather portfolio. Singapore. Tonight. His phone buzzed. International numbers. He ignored them. You have some nerve, Whitman continued, thinking you could fool us forever. Scholarship boy pretending to belong with real money. The live stream was exploding. Whitman's son Tyler broadcast from the corner, iPhone propped against a water bottle. The viewer count climbed, 15,000, 18,000, 22,000. This is wild, Tyler whispered to his phone. Dad's finally firing the diversity hire. Comments streamed past in a blur of hatred. Send him back to the projects. Affirmative action fail. Once a welfare queen, always a welfare queen. Hashtag fake black CEO. The hashtag was already trending. Your wife must be so embarrassed, Wells smirked. Married to a fraud. Fake Rolex knockoff suit. Cromwell examined Darius from across the table. Probably lives in a rental. Darius glanced at his watch. A genuine Patek Philippe Nautilus. $180,000. He'd bought it with his first Pentagon contract bonus. Rental assumptions, also interesting. Whitman's face reddened. Don't you dare mock us. We built this company while you were probably stealing bikes. More laughter, more recordings. The live stream hit 30,000 viewers. Thompson Industries deserves real leadership. Whitman stood, pacing behind his chair. Not some DEI experiment who peeked at community college intelligence. Street smarts versus real business acumen. Patricia nodded sagely. Urban culture just doesn't translate to boardroom decisions. The casual racism flowed like water. These men had built careers on it, fortunes on it. Their confidence was absolute. Security knocked. 2 guards in Navy uniforms entered, led by a massive black man, Jerome Washington, head of corporate security. Sir? Jerome's voice was uncertain. He'd served 3 tours in Afghanistan before this job. He recognized character, and he didn't like what he was seeing. Jerome, escort this trespasser out, Whitman commanded. He's been terminated for cause. Fraud, theft, you know the drill. Jerome's jaw tightened. Sir, I need to see the termination paperwork. Now, Jerome, before I fire you too. The threat hung in the air. Jerome had kids, a mortgage, He stepped forward reluctantly. Should we cuff him? The second guard asked. Like a real criminal? Excellent idea, Wells clapped. Let everyone see what happens to thieves. Darius's phone buzzed again, and again. International calls are increasing in frequency. Singapore, Germany, South Korea. He let them ring. Check his pockets, Cromwell suggested. Probably stealing office supplies. Tyler zoomed in with his phone. The comments were getting uglier. Arrest him. Send him back where he came from. Dad money talks. Outside the conference room, employees gathered. Some filmed through the glass walls. Others looked uncomfortable, whispering among themselves. Sarah Lane, the senior VP of operations, pressed against the window. Her face was pale. She'd worked directly with Darius for 3 years. She knew his capabilities, his character. This was wrong. All wrong. The main lobby, Whitman decided. Walk him through the main lobby so everyone sees. Let them know what happens to diversity hires who get ideas above their station. Jerome hesitated again. Mr. Whitman, sir, this doesn't feel... Your job, Jerome. Do your job or find another one. The guard's massive hands trembled slightly as he approached Darius. Sir, I need you to come with me. Darius finally looked up. His eyes were calm, almost serene. Of course, Jerome, you're just following orders. Something in his tone made Jerome step back. 8 minutes, Whitman announced, checking his watch again. Then you're trespassing. An assistant wheeled in cardboard boxes used pizza boxes from the break room, not proper moving containers. The insult was deliberate. Dump everything in there, Wells ordered. And Jerome check everything. Make sure he's not stealing proprietary information. Patricia pulled out her own phone, joining the recording party. This will be excellent for our shareholders, showing decisive action against fraud. The live stream hit 45,000 viewers. Affirmative action fraud was trending nationally now. Local news blogger Marcus Freeman had already posted, Breaking. Diversity hire CEO exposed as fraud live video. Darius's phone rang again. This time he glanced at it. Singapore country code. He declined the call. Probably drug dealers, Cromwell laughed. Or maybe his parole officer. 6 minutes, Whitman announced. Security, prepare the perp walk. That's when Darius smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It wasn't defeated. It was something else entirely. Something that made Jerome Washington take another step back. Perp walk, Darius repeated softly. That's quite an escalation, Reginald. You're a criminal. Act like one. Get treated like one. Criminal. Darius tested the word. Based on what evidence? Theft of company resources, fraudulent representation, securities violations. Whitman was warming to his theme. Should I continue? Please do. The confidence in Darius's voice created the first crack in Whitman's certainty, but only for a moment. 5 minutes, Whitman said. Jerome, the handcuffs. Jerome looked at the cuffs on his belt, then at Darius, then on the phone recording everything. Sir, I don't think... Do it! Darius's phone buzzed once more. Singapore again. This time, he answered. Execute Protocol 7. 3 words. Calm as still water. He hung up. Every phone in the room buzzed simultaneously. Whitman's face went white. What? He whispered, staring at his screen. What did you just... But Darius was already reaching for his briefcase, the locked briefcase that never left his side. 4 minutes, he said quietly. Actually, gentlemen, I think we need to recalculate. Every board member stared at their buzzing phones. The confidence drained from their faces like water from broken glass. What is Protocol 7? Patricia's voice cracked. Darius opened his briefcase with 2 precise clicks. Inside, a single manila folder marked Singapore Defense Contract, Classified. That's confidential company information. Whitman lunged forward. Actually, Darius's voice remained glacier calm. It's my personal negotiation. My signature requirement. My deadline. He slid the folder across the mahogany table. Expires in 43 minutes. Whitman grabbed the document, scanning rapidly. His hands shook. $800 million. Exclusive signatory clause. Darius Thompson, Chief Executive Officer. 800 million? Wells snatched the paper. That's 34% of our annual revenue. Was, Darius corrected. Past tense, gentlemen. Tyler's live stream exploded. The viewer count hit 75,000. Comments blurred past faster than eyes could follow. 800 million? Wait, is this real? OMG plot twist. Hash protocol. 7, what does it mean? Outside the conference room, the crowd of employees pressed closer to the glass. Sarah Lane had her phone out, recording everything. Others whispered frantically. This is insane, someone muttered. Darius negotiated that deal personally. All those late nights, the Singapore trips. He speaks Mandarin and Korean and German. The whispers spread like wildfire through the crowd. Jerome Washington stood frozen, handcuffs still in his grip. 3 tours in Afghanistan had taught him to recognize power shifts. The air in the room had changed. The predators were becoming prey. You can't. The board controls all contracts, Cromwell stammered. Check your bylaws, Darius suggested mildly. Article 15, Section C. CEO retains exclusive signature rights for international defense contracts exceeding $500 million for national security clearance reasons. Patricia scrambled for her leather portfolio, pulling out the company bylaws. Her manicured fingers flipped pages frantically. Here, Article 15, Section. Her face went ashen. Oh, God. Whitman's phone rang. He answered without looking. What? Yes, this is... What do you mean the Singapore delegation is here? Everyone frozen. They're in the lobby? Whitman's voice climbed an octave. Now? Darius checked his Patek Philippe. Punctual. I appreciate that in business partners. Tyler's live stream was chaotic. The comments section had become a war zone. Is this really happening? Black CEO about to destroy racist board live. Hashtag Protocol 7 trending worldwide. Someone call CNN. The hashtag counter was climbing. 200K posts, 500K, 750K. News outlets were picking it up. Marcus Freeman's blog post already had 50,000 shares. Local TV trucks were pulling up outside. You planned this, Wells accused, his silver hair disheveled. You orchestrated this whole thing. I signed an employment contract, Darius replied, with termination protection clauses. You should read agreements before you sign them. Sarah Lane burst through the conference room door. Mr. Whitman, there are reporters downstairs, and the Singapore Defense Minister is asking for Mr. Thompson specifically. Defense Minister? Patricia whispered. Minister Liu Wei, Darius confirmed. We've been negotiating for 8 months. He trusts me personally, flew in specifically for the signing ceremony. Whitman's second phone rang, then his third. The board members' devices were exploding with calls. Stock price? Cromwell asked weakly. Sarah checked her phone. Down 18%. Trading volume is insane. 18% of rumors, Darius noted. Imagine what happens when the contract actually expires unsigned. Jerome Washington finally spoke. Sir, maybe we should— Shut up! Whitman screamed. Everyone shut up and let me think! But there was no time to think. The conference room door opened again. A woman in a sharp black suit entered, flanked by 2 men in identical navy blazers. Mr. Thompson? Her accent was crisp, British educated. Minister Liu is ready for the ceremony. Ms. Chang, Darius smiled, his first genuine expression all day. Punctual as always. We have the press set up ready. BBC, Reuters, Singapore Broadcasting. Minister Liu is quite excited about the announcement. The board members looked like they were watching a car accident in slow motion. "Press?" Wells croaked. "International defense contracts require public ceremony," Darius explained patiently. "Transparency, accountability, democratic values." His phone buzzed with a text. He glanced at it, then showed the screen to the room. 38 minutes remaining. Final notice. "From Minister Liu's office," Darius explained. "They're quite serious about deadlines." Tyler's live stream had reached 100,000 viewers. The comments were insane. "This is better than Netflix." "Black CEO is about to destroy these racists." Hashtag protocol 7 is genius. "Someone make this a movie." The local news had arrived. Through the conference room windows, they could see camera crews setting up in the lobby. "CNN is here," someone shouted from the hallway. "And Fox News." Patricia buried her face in her hands. "We're ruined. We're all ruined." "Not necessarily," Darius said quietly. Everyone looked at him. "The contract is still valid. I can still sign it, but—" "But what?" Whitman demanded. "I need to be the legal CEO of Thompson Industries. Can't sign corporate contracts as a fired janitor." The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. "You want us to reinstate you?" Cromwell asked. "I want you to follow the law. Article 12, Section 4 of my employment contract. Any termination without proper 60-day written notice and board vote with a quorum of 7 members automatically triggers my equity protection clause." Patricia was speed-reading the employment contract on her tablet. "What equity protection?" "Immediate ownership transfer of 30% of outstanding shares, making me the largest individual shareholder." The room erupted. 30%? That's impossible. You can't. This is fraud." "Quite legal," Darius assured them. "Your lawyers wrote it. You signed it 3 years ago." Jerome Washington was backing toward the door. His military training screamed, "Get out of the blast radius." Ms. Chang checked her phone. "Mr. Thompson, Minister Liu is growing concerned. Shall I inform him of any delays?" 35 minutes, Darius announced to the room. "Decision time, gentlemen and lady." Tyler's live stream was being shared across every platform. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, hashtag protocol. 7 was trending in 12 countries. The stock price hit 22%. Whitman's wife was calling, his lawyer, his financial advisor. Everyone was calling. "If you get 30% ownership," Patricia calculated desperately, "you can fire us, all of us." "Hypothetically," Darius agreed. "This is extortion. This is contract law." Sarah Lane's voice crackled through the intercom. "Mr. Whitman, Reuters is asking for a statement. They want to know if Thompson Industries is having a leadership crisis." Leadership crisis. The words hung in the air like smoke. 34 minutes, Darius announced. Minister Liu was waiting. The world was watching, and $800 million was about to walk out the door forever. "So," Darius folded his hands calmly, "shall we vote?" "Vote?" Whitman's laugh sounded like breaking glass. "We already voted. You're fired." "Actually," Darius reached into his briefcase again, "you held an illegal meeting." He produced a thick legal document. Thompson Industries Corporate Bylaws, Section 8.2. All board meetings requiring CEO termination must provide 48-hour written notice to all parties. Patricia grabbed the bylaws. Her face went white. "Oh no! Oh no, no, no!" "I received your meeting invitation at 9:47 a.m., Darius continued calmly. "Exactly 17 minutes ago, for a meeting that started 14 minutes ago." The math hit them like a sledgehammer. "Which means," Darius smiled, "this meeting is invalid. Any votes taken are null and void. And attempting to terminate me without proper procedure—" He paused, letting the silence build. Triggers my equity protection clause automatically. Tyler's live stream exploded. 125,000 viewers and climbing. The comments were chaos. He planned everything. Legal genius. Get wrecked racist board. Protocol 7 is legendary. Wells jumped to his feet. This is impossible. You can't. Richard, sit down. Darius's voice carried new authority. You're about to learn what impossible actually looks like. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through his contacts, and hit the speaker. Jennifer, it's Darius. Execute Phase 2. A crisp female voice filled the room. Confirmed. SEC filings submitted. The press release goes live in 30 minutes. SEC? Cromwell whispered. Securities and Exchange Commission, Darius explained helpfully. They're very interested in irregular board meetings, especially ones designed to manipulate stock prices. The phone continued. Mr. Thompson, should I proceed with the shareholder notification? Please do, Jennifer. All 50,000 individual shareholders. They should know about today's irregularities. Whitman lunged for the phone. Hang up now! But it was too late. Filing complete, Jennifer announced. You're now officially the largest individual shareholder of Thompson Industries. Congratulations, sir. The room went dead silent. 30%, Darius said quietly. Effective immediately. Sarah Lane's voice crackled through the intercom. Sir, the stock just jumped 8%. Trading volume is unprecedented. Tyler zoomed his camera on his father's face. Whitman looked like he'd seen a ghost. The livestream comments were insane. Whitman crying on camera. Daddy issues now. Karma is beautiful. This is better than Game of Thrones. Ms. Chang entered again, this time with 3 additional people. Mr. Thompson, we need to begin the ceremony. Minister Liu is concerned about the delay. Of course. Darius stood, straightening his tie. I apologize for keeping the minister waiting. Wait! Patricia shrieked. You can't just leave. Why not? I was fired, remember? Escorted out like a criminal? He gestured to Jerome, who still held the handcuffs. Jerome, shouldn't you be arresting me for trespassing? Jerome Washington dropped the cuffs like they were on fire. Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Has there? Darius asked mildly. That's when he opened his briefcase completely. The transformation was immediate and devastating. Inside, perfectly organized in color-coded folders, 18 months of meticulous documentation, printed emails with timestamps, digital audio files with transcription labels, video recordings with frame-by-frame analysis, legal depositions from 47 current and former employees, witness statements notarized by licensed attorneys, every racist comment, every discriminatory action, every illegal financial scheme, every violation of corporate governance, every breach of federal employment law, all documented, all corroborated, all legal, all admissible in federal court. Gentlemen, Darius said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty, and lady, I'd like you to meet my insurance policy. He pulled out the first folder, marked Cromwell Richard, Financial Crimes. Richard Cromwell, CFO. Email dated March 15, 2024, sent from your personal account to your brother-in-law's consulting firm. Quote, the diversity hire is getting too comfortable. Time to remind him of his place. Also, process the usual $50K consulting fee for the project that doesn't exist. Cromwell's face went purple. His hands shook as he gripped the conference table. That email was followed by a wire transfer of exactly $50,000 to Cromwell Family Consulting LLCA company that exists only on paper. That's embezzlement, Richard. Federal crime. 5 to 10 years minimum. Darius opened the second folder. Northfield Patricia. Hate crimes. Patricia Northfield, Strategy Director. Recorded phone call with your daughter, April 3, 2024, 2:47 p.m. Quote, we need that Nair gone before he ruins everything Daddy built. These people don't understand their place anymore." Patricia made a choking sound. Her manicured hands flew to her throat. "Your daughter was quite upset by that conversation, Patricia. Upset enough to record it and send it to HR anonymously. That's when I knew you were planning something big." The third folder was thickest. Wells, Harrison, Conspiracy and Fraud. Harrison Wells, Operations VP. Text message to your wife, May 22nd, 2024, 11:33 p.m. Quote, "Can't wait to see the look on that monkey's face when we vote him out. Already got the boys lined up for the new contracts. We'll make back everything we lost on the diversity experiment." Wells collapsed into his chair, hyperventilating. The new contracts referred to a scheme to funnel Thompson Industries work to companies owned by your fraternity brothers at 40% markup. That's bid rigging, Harrison. Another federal crime, another 5 to 10 years. Darius walked slowly around the table like a prosecutor presenting to a jury. "But my personal favorite," he pulled out the thickest folder of all, "Whitman, Reginald, Racketeering Enterprise." Tyler's phone clattered to the floor. Reginald Whitman, board chairman. Recorded conversation in this very room, June 18th, 2024, 4:22 p.m. Quote, "I don't care if he's profitable. I don't care if he's brilliant. I will not have some uppity Nair running my company. We'll destroy him, his reputation, his family, whatever it takes." Whitman was shaking so violently his expensive watch rattled against the table. "That conversation continued for 47 minutes, Reginald. You outlined a comprehensive plan to fabricate sexual harassment allegations, plant stolen company documents in my office, and coordinate with competitors to blacklist me from the defense industry. That's conspiracy under RICO statutes, 25 years to life." Darius opened another section. "You also discussed hiring private investigators to follow my wife and children, photograph them, create compromising situations. That's stalking, harassment, and conspiracy to commit multiple felonies." The room was so quiet they could hear Tyler's live stream notifications pinging on the floor. 150,000 viewers now. The counter kept climbing. You recorded us?" Whitman's voice was barely a whisper. "That's illegal." "Actually, it's not." Darius smiled with genuine pleasure. "Pennsylvania is a one-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows it's being recorded, which I did, it's perfectly legal." He gestured around the room with theatrical grandeur. "Motion-activated recording devices, audio and video, installed in this conference room 3 years ago with full board approval. Security measure, you called it, to prevent corporate espionage and protect sensitive company information." The irony was so perfect it was almost poetry. "You've been recording yourselves committing felonies for 36 consecutive months." Tyler scrambled for his phone. The live stream was absolute pandemonium. Comments pouring in faster than the system could display them. Hashtag protocol. 7 trending in 43 countries. News helicopters circling the building. CNN, BBC, Fox News all going live. This was no longer a corporate board meeting. This was history being made in real time. "Every meeting," Darius continued conversationally, as if discussing the weather. "Every phone call made in this room. Every whispered conversation by the windows. Every racist joke. Every illegal scheme. All recorded. All transcribed by professional court reporters. All time-stamped and verified by forensic audio experts." He pulled out another folder. "The short-selling scheme was particularly creative, Richard. Manipulating quarterly earnings reports to artificially drive down stock prices, then buying additional shares through shell companies at discount rates. That's securities fraud, market manipulation, 10 to 20 years in federal prison." Cromwell was hyperventilating into a paper bag someone had found. "The vendor kickback scheme was nicely orchestrated too, Harrison. 3.2 million in fake consulting contracts to your wife's shell companies over 18 months. Money laundering, embezzlement, tax evasion, another 5 to 10 years, plus civil forfeiture of all assets." Wells was openly weeping now, mascara running down his cheeks in black streams. And Reginald. Darius turned to Whitman with the expression of a master chess player announcing checkmate. The fake sexual harassment allegations you were planning to file against me next week, complete with planted evidence and coached witnesses? That's conspiracy to commit perjury, attempted destruction of reputation, and abuse of the legal system. Very creative, very ambitious, very stupid. Whitman's mouth opened and closed like a suffocating fish. The private investigator you hired, Marcus Delano, he's actually an FBI informant. It has been for 6 years. Every instruction you gave him, every illegal request, every plan to intimidate my family, all recorded and delivered directly to the Bureau. Patricia was sobbing now, her carefully applied makeup running in rivers down her face. "How?" she whispered between sobs. "How did you know? How did you plan all this?" "Patricia," Darius's voice was gentle now, almost pitying. "You've been planning my destruction since my first day. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? Did you honestly believe I wouldn't prepare?" He gestured to his briefcase with professional pride. 18 months of methodical preparation. Every scenario is war-gamed, every contingency planned, every legal avenue was researched, every escape route is mapped and remapped. Ms. Chang checked her elegant Cartier watch. "Mr. Thompson, 26 minutes remaining." "Of course." Darius straightened his tie with calm precision. "Now here's what's going to happen." The room held its collective breath. The fate of Thompson Industries and everyone in it hung in the balance. The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. "You have 2 choices," Darius announced, his voice carrying the authority of absolute power. "Choose carefully. Your freedom depends on it." Tyler's live stream had reached 180,000 viewers. The comments were a blur of excitement. "This is better than any movie." "Darius is a genius." "Board is getting destroyed." "Hacked Protocol 7 worldwide." Outside, news helicopters circled like vultures. The building's parking lot was packed with media trucks. This was no longer a corporate meeting. This was a public execution. "Choice 1, Darius continued with surgical precision. "I walk out that door right now. Let the Singapore contract expire in 25 minutes. And tomorrow morning, every piece of evidence in this briefcase gets hand-delivered to the FBI, SEC, IRS, and Department of Justice simultaneously." He let that sink in like poison. "Your companies collapse overnight. Your families are financially ruined. Your freedom disappears for the next 25 years. And Thompson Industries. My company now, remember my 30% controlling interest liquidates all assets and terminates all operations." Sarah Lane's voice crackled through the intercom. "Sir, we have Pentagon officials on line 1. They're asking about contract status." "Pentagon?" Wells croaked. "Defense contracts require military oversight," Darius explained patiently. "General Morrison is quite concerned about potential delays. He's threatening to blacklist Thompson Industries from all future defense work." The blood drained from every face in the room. "That's $2.3 billion in annual revenue," Darius continued conversationally. "Gone. All 3,000 employees were unemployed by Friday. All because you couldn't control your racism long enough to run a meeting properly." Patricia was hyperventilating. "You can't. The employees, they're innocent." "Exactly my point, Patricia. 3,000 innocent families were destroyed because 8 people couldn't treat one black man with basic human dignity." Ms. Chang entered again. "Minister Liu is requesting a status update. The ceremony was scheduled to begin 8 minutes ago." "Of course." Darius checked his Patek Philippe. 24 minutes until contract expiration." He pulled out his phone, showing the screen to everyone. A Singapore government text message in English and Mandarin. "Final notice. Contract void at 11 o'clock a.m. Estring. No extensions possible." Minister Liu flew 16 hours specifically for this signing, Darius explained. "Singapore doesn't negotiate with unreliable partners. If we miss this deadline, They'll sign with Raytheon instead. Whitman made a strangled sound. Raytheon. Our biggest competitor. Yes, they've been courting Singapore for 2 years. Minister Liu mentioned they're standing by with a backup contract. The financial implications hit them like consecutive punches. 800 million to our competitor, Cromwell calculated desperately, plus future contracts. Singapore leads the Southeast Asian Defense Alliance. Darius nodded approvingly. 11 countries. Combined contract value over the next 5 years, 4.2 billion. Wells was now openly sobbing. We're destroyed. We're all destroyed. Not necessarily, Darius said quietly. Everyone looked at him with desperate hope. Choice 2. You resign. Today. Right now. Quietly and with whatever dignity you have left. He pulled out a legal document from his briefcase. Resignation letters already prepared. Sign them, and I sign the Singapore contract with 3 minutes to spare. Everyone keeps their jobs. The company stays profitable. You avoid federal prison. Tyler's live stream exploded with reactions. Mercy or justice? Darius holding all the cards. Sign it, sign it, sign it. But, Darius held up one finger, accepting my mercy requires accepting fundamental changes. He unfolded a comprehensive corporate reform document. New board composition. 7 members minimum. 4 must be women or minorities. 0 tolerance for discrimination, automatic termination. No appeals. Patricia read over his shoulder, her face getting paler. New hiring practices. AI-assisted screening to eliminate bias. All executive positions posted publicly. No more fraternity networks or golf course handshakes. Cromwell was calculating rapidly on his phone. This would change everything. Everything is broken, Richard. Everything racist. Everything is illegal. Darius continued reading. New reporting system. Anonymous discrimination hotline with external investigation firm. Quarterly bias training mandatory for all staff. And financial accountability. He smiled coldly. All executive compensation is tied directly to diversity metrics. You profit only if the company becomes genuinely equitable. Whitman found his voice. You're dismantling everything we built. I'm dismantling everything wrong with what you built. The profitable parts, the innovation, the engineering excellence, the client relationships, those stay. Sarah Lane's voice interrupted. Sir, Minister Liu is in the lobby. He's requesting an immediate meeting with CEO Thompson. Excellent timing. Darius stood, adjusting his cufflinks. 22 minutes remaining. He looked around the table at 8 broken, desperate faces. Decision time. Federal prison or corporate reform. Choose now. The room erupted in whispered panic. We need lawyers. There's no time. My family will be ruined. The stock price. Silence. Darius's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Everyone frozen. You had 3 years to treat me with basic human respect. You chose hatred instead. You had 18 months to run honest board meetings. You chose illegal conspiracies instead. You had this morning to conduct business professionally. You chose racist humiliation instead. He walked slowly around the table, making eye contact with each person. Every choice led you here, to this moment, to this decision. Tyler's phone was shaking in his hands. 200,000 viewers watching his father's complete destruction. The Singapore delegation is waiting, Ms. Chang announced from the doorway. 21 minutes. Darius pulled out an elegant Mont Blanc pen, placing it in the center of the table. Sign the resignations, accept the reforms, and walk away with your freedom. Or refuse and face the full consequences of federal prosecution. He paused dramatically. I should mention the FBI is already reviewing preliminary evidence. Agent Sarah Martinez from the Financial Crimes Division has been briefed. She's very interested in your RICO conspiracy, Reginald. Whitman's hands were shaking so violently he couldn't hold his phone. And Richard, the IRS Criminal Investigation Unit has some questions about those shell company payments. They're quite thorough in their audits. Cromwell made a whimpering sound. Harrison, your wife's consulting firm is under federal investigation. Asset forfeiture proceedings begin Monday morning. Wells collapsed completely, his head hitting the conference table. Patricia, your daughter's recording of your racist rant has been submitted as evidence. Character witnesses are quite valuable in federal court. Patricia was hyperventilating again. Choose, Darius said simply. The Mont Blanc pen sat on the mahogany table like a golden lifeline. 20 minutes, Ms. Chang called out. Whitman reached for the pen with trembling fingers. Wait, he whispered. If we sign, this stays private? The criminal evidence stays sealed unless you violate the terms, Darius confirmed. But your resignations are public, effective immediately. And the company? Thrives under proper leadership, grows, becomes an industry model for equity and excellence. Patricia grabbed the pen first. I'll sign anything. Her signature was barely legible, her hand shaking so badly. Cromwell was next, then Wells. Each signature a surrender, a defeat, a recognition of absolute power. Finally, Whitman took the pen. You've won, he said bitterly. No, Reginald, we've all won. The company survives. The employees keep their jobs. Justice is served without destruction. Whitman signed his name with the resignation of a beaten man. Excellent. Darius collected the documents, placing them carefully in his briefcase. Jerome, please escort these former board members to HR immediately. They'll need final paperwork processed. Jerome Washington stepped forward with obvious satisfaction. Yes, sir, Mr. Thompson. Right this way, folks. As the disgraced former board members shuffled toward the door, Darius called out one final time. Oh, and Reginald? Whitman turned, broken and defeated. That janitor's uniform you threw at me? Keep it. Something tells me you're going to need work clothes soon. Tyler's live stream reached 250,000 viewers as his father's humiliation was complete. Now, Darius said to Ms. Chang, straightening his jacket, shall we go sign a contract and save some jobs? The Singapore contract signing ceremony was flawless. Minister Liu Wei, elegant in his navy diplomatic suit, smiled broadly as cameras flashed. Mr. Thompson, this partnership represents more than business. It represents trust between nations. Darius signed the $800 million contract with 18 minutes to spare. The Mont Blanc pen that had just destroyed 4 careers now secured Thompson Industries' future. Thank you for your patience, Minister Liu. Sometimes internal restructuring requires immediate attention. The press conference drew global coverage. BBC, CNN, Reuters, Singapore Broadcasting, all broadcasting live as Darius announced the largest defense contract in company history. Tyler's live stream had exploded to 400,000 viewers. Comments flooded in. Darius saved the company. From janitor uniform to $800 deal. Hashtag Protocol 7 is legendary. This man is unstoppable. But the real changes began immediately. Within hours, Darius had implemented his corporate reform plan with military precision. The new board of directors was announced. Sarah Lane as chairwoman, Dr. Angela Rodriguez from Stanford as VP of Ethics, and 5 other diverse leaders from across industries. Effective immediately, Darius announced in a company-wide video call, Thompson Industries adopts zero tolerance for discrimination. Period. The response was electric. Employees who had suffered in silence for years suddenly had voices. The anonymous reporting hotline received 47 calls in the first day. Tell us about Project Equity, a CNN reporter asked during the evening news interview. Simple concept, Darius replied calmly. AI-assisted hiring eliminates human bias. Every position posted publicly. merit-based advancement tracked by independent algorithms. The stock market responded decisively. Thomson Industries closed up 23% on the day, reaching an all-time high. Institutional investors poured in, attracted by the transparent governance structure. The Singapore deal is just the beginning, Darius told Forbes in an exclusive interview. We have inquiries from Germany, South Korea, and Australia. Turns out, countries prefer doing business with ethical companies. The fallen board members faced swift consequences. Whitman's personal empire collapsed within a week. His investment firm lost 80% of its clients. His country club membership was revoked. His wife filed for divorce, citing irreparable damage to family reputation. Local news caught him applying for entry-level positions. The same man who had thrown a janitor's uniform across a boardroom table was now desperate for any work. Cromwell faced federal charges for embezzlement. The IRS seized his homes, cars, and investment accounts. His elaborate shell company scheme unraveled completely, exposing $3.2 million in fraudulent payments. Wells declared bankruptcy. His wife's consulting companies were dissolved. His fraternity brothers distanced themselves completely, the networking schemes that had built his career, now toxic liabilities. Patricia's daughter testified before the grand jury. Her racist recordings became evidence in hate crime proceedings. Her charity board positions disappeared overnight. But the real victory was systemic. The Thomson Standard became an industry benchmark. Within 6 months, 12 Fortune 500 companies had adopted similar equity frameworks. Harvard Business School developed a case study. Protocol 7, Strategic Legal Defense in Corporate Discrimination. Students worldwide analyzed Darius's 18-month preparation strategy. Thomson Industries' transformation was measurable. Employee satisfaction scores increased 340%. Productivity jumped 28%. Innovation patents filed increased 156%. When people feel valued and respected, Darius explained to a packed auditorium at the National Diversity Leadership Conference, they produce extraordinary results. The company's new culture attracted top talent globally. Engineers from Google, executives from McKinsey, innovators from Tesla, all drawn by Thomson's reputation for merit-based excellence. The Singapore contract opened unprecedented opportunities. Minister Liu personally introduced Darius to defense ministers from 8 allied nations. The Southeast Asian Defense Alliance contracts were worth $4.2 billion over 5 years. Mr. Thomson demonstrated something rare in American business, Minister Liu told international media. Integrity under pressure. Singapore values partners who honor their commitments despite adversity. Tyler Whitman's livestream had become accidentally historic. The 400,000-viewer recording was studied in business schools, law schools, and leadership programs worldwide. Protocol 7 entered business vernacular. Corporate executives used the term to describe strategic preparation for workplace discrimination. Every minority leader should have their own Protocol 7, wrote Harvard Business Review. Legal preparation, documentation systems, and strategic contingency planning are no longer optional. They're essential. The FBI investigation continued quietly. Agent Martinez's Financial Crimes Unit built an airtight case against the former board members. Federal prosecutors were confident, 25-year sentences for the RICO conspiracy. But Darius had moved beyond revenge to reconstruction. Justice isn't about punishment, he told his new board of directors during their first official meeting. Justice is about building systems that prevent future harm. Thomson Industries' headquarters was renovated. The conference room where everything had unfolded became the Protocol 7 room, a meeting space dedicated to ethical decision-making and transparent governance. A plaque on the wall read, "In memory of what was wrong, in honor of what became right." Jerome Washington was promoted to Chief Security Officer, overseeing both physical security and corporate integrity programs. "Mr. Thomson," Jerome said during the promotion ceremony, "I want to thank you for showing me what real leadership looks like." "Jerome, You were ready to do the right thing even when it was dangerous. That's the character we're building this company on. The transformation was complete. From janitor's uniform to corporate reformation in one extraordinary day. Thompson Industries had become more than a defense contractor. It had become a symbol of what American business could achieve with proper leadership. And Darius Thompson had proven that preparation, patience, and principles would always triumph over prejudice. 2 years later, the transformation was undeniable. Thompson Industries had become the most sought-after employer in the defense sector. Forbes named it Company of the Year. Time magazine featured Darius on their cover with the headline, "The CEO Who Changed Everything." But the real victory was in the lives changed. Sarah Lane, now board chairwoman, had implemented diversity initiatives copied by companies worldwide. Darius didn't just save our jobs, she told 60 Minutes. He taught us what authentic leadership looks like. Jerome Washington's security protocols had become the gold standard for corporate integrity. His team prevented discrimination before it could take root, creating an environment where everyone could thrive. The former board members faced different fates. Whitman worked nights at a warehouse, his multi-million-dollar lifestyle reduced to a studio apartment. Local newspapers still ran stories about his spectacular downfall. His son Tyler had become an advocate for corporate accountability, using his platform to share real-life stories about workplace discrimination. Cromwell served 18 months in federal prison for embezzlement. Upon release, no major corporation would hire him. He started a small consulting firm focused on, ironically, corporate ethics compliance. Wells and Patricia had declared bankruptcy and moved out of state. Their touching stories of downfall became cautionary tales in business school ethics courses. But Darius focused forward, not backward. The Singapore partnership had expanded into the Southeast Asian Defense Alliance, generating over $6 billion in contracts. Thompson Industries now employed 8,000 people, 5,000 more than when the board tried to fire him. "This isn't about one man's revenge," Darius explained during his Harvard Business School commencement speech. "This is about building systems that make revenge unnecessary." The Protocol 7 framework had been adopted by 127 Fortune 500 companies. Corporate discrimination complaints dropped 67% industry-wide. Legal preparation had become standard practice for minority executives worldwide. Minister Liu Wei visited Thompson Industries quarterly, bringing defense ministers from allied nations. "Trust," he often said, "is the most valuable currency in international business." The company's success had attracted global attention. Oxford, Cambridge, and Tokyo University invited Darius to lecture on strategic leadership and systemic change. Tyler's original live stream, now archived as the Protocol 7 recording, had been viewed 50 million times. It was required viewing in Harvard Law School's corporate discrimination course. The Protocol 7 room had become a pilgrimage site for business leaders. The plaque's message resonated. In memory of what was wrong, in honor of what became right. These black stories, these touching stories of transformation and justice, proved that preparation and principle could overcome even the deepest prejudice. "Have you ever witnessed workplace discrimination?" Darius asked during his final interview for this story. "Have you felt the sting of being underestimated, dismissed, or worse? Your story matters. Your preparation matters. Your voice matters. The boardroom where they threw that janitor's uniform at me? It's now the Protocol 7 room, where we make decisions that lift everyone up. Share your story in the comments below. Let the world know that intelligence and preparation will always triumph over hatred. This is why we share these real-life stories. Because every voice matters, every injustice can be transformed, and every person deserves dignity. If this story inspired you, subscribe to Black Soul Stories. Hit that notification bell. Because every week, we're proving that brilliance beats bias, strategy conquers hatred, and real justice is always worth the fight. Share this video with someone who needs to remember their power. Share it with someone fighting their own battle. Because in the end, we don't just survive, we transform the system itself. Subscribe to Black Soul Stories. Your story could be next.